Hello again everyone, this is Stu from Dr. Drip Plumbing. Today I travelled to Rozelle in Sydney's inner west. My customer had a dripping basin tap. When we got there we found that it was a mixer, so the next thing we do is just check on the brand and we tell them we need a cartridge. So having a look, it's a Monda brand. That's pretty much exclusive now to Bunnings. Bunnings do not do spare parts, so told the customer that maybe a new basin mixer might be required, but we'll just do some further investigation. So we made the tap safe, just basically isolating it underneath, and so it didn't create headache. They had another basin that they could use. I'm going to take off the handle and get to this cartridge. So the handle comes off first to get to the little, as you can see, grub nut. That comes off so that we can actually get to the actual cartridge below. As you can see, there's the cartridge underneath all that. The little flange gets unscrewed first, and then we attempt to undo the back nut without making the mixer spin on top of the basin. Just before we do that, we are going to turn off these two lovely hot and cold taps so that we don't get covered in water. Off and then off. The back nut comes off and then the cartridge slides out. So I had a look at it, took some measurements, and then had a look at some of the ones you can buy off the shelf, and some came close. So that bottom footprint of where those O-rings are is quite important, because that's the one that's going to tell us whether the new one can work. Plus there's, I don't know if you can tell, there's a couple little lugs that guide and hold the cartridge from spinning around right at the bottom of that cartridge underneath. They're equally important. The size of those, the depth of those, and the how far apart they are is very important, because that's the one that's going to tell us whether we can get a new cartridge replacement. So I found one. We're going to put it in. So we just got to line up those two lugs that I was talking about before. We actually found one the other day, so this is the job in its entirety. The back nut goes back on, and then before we start putting everything else back together, we will turn on the water and test, make sure that it actually does do the trick it's supposed to do. Yep, there we go, no leaks, and normally you would see, if it failed, water coming up from around where the handle attaches, anywhere around that back nut. We're quite lucky that this one worked, and it was quite a cheap result for our customer. Quite an easy job too for a plumber to do this. Just got to do it in the right order so you don't get wet and create a mess in someone's bathroom. So the flange goes back on, followed by the bulk of the handle, the little back nut to hold it on, and then the actual arm of the handle as well. Okay, just to give it a little test before we're done, and that's as simple as changing your basin cartridge if you have the right cartridge to replace. Thanks again from Rozelle in the inner west, and I'm Stu from Dr. Drip. Cheers.